Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today I'm bringing you a reading for the new moon of Shevat. Shevat is the month that is coming up with the new moon in the second week of January here in 2024. And I'm going to start out by pulling out a piece of paper that has the name of one of the decks on it, and we're going to pull one card from that deck, and then we're going to do a full cast reading for the month of Shevat. Let's see what we have today. Go. Medicine cards. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, here's our deck of medicine cards. I'm going to shuffle them up and see if there's a card that wants to come out and give us a little message about what we've got coming in the future here for the month of Shevat. This month that begins a new moon in January of 2024. It's a month of the New Year of the Trees in Hebrew. The Tu B'Shvat happens this coming month. The branches are bare, but there it is. It's right on the ground. The branches are bare, but the sap is beginning to rise as the light shifts. So we have one card that came out today, and we have the ant. Okay, let's read about the ant here in the book. Ant is about patience. It says an ant can carry a leaf over 100 miles just to get back to the anthill. Ants in Africa will strip a forest bare when food is scarce if it takes them a year. Ants' medicine is a strategy of patience. Ant is a builder, like beaver, is aggressive like badger, and has stamina like elk. Scrutiny like mouse, and giveaway like turkey. Every ant in an anthill is part of the ant group mind. As all the ants work for the queen ant in the hive, self-sacrifice is a part of ant medicine. Greater than any other medicines, however, is patience. Ant people are planners like the squirrel and are content to see their dreams being built a little at a time. Patience does have its rewards. If the ant has marched into our spread today, it's time to show a little trust and patience in some life situation. You may have forgotten that you will always receive what you need at a time when you need it most. If not on the horizon or just around the next hill, you may need to use some strategy. However, you can put to use your power of creation until it arrives, whatever it is to you at this time. So patience. And that's perfect for this time of year when we're dealing with the waiting for the sap to rise. We're waiting for the sap to rise in those trees, and we can't see it. We can't see it happening. It's all happening under the ground. But we have to trust and continue to do our work and work together for the good of the whole in order to survive the winter and bring ourselves into the time of flourishing spring. So to that end, let's pull out our Hebrunes, shake them up in the bag. And the way we do a full spread is we pour them all out, remove the ones that are face down, and read the rest where they lie. So let's see what comes up today for the month of Shevat, the new moon coming up. Okay, let's take out the ones that are face down. And what we have left here, quite a spread, quite an assortment here. We're starting I'm going to say our central issue here is the bait. It's the one that's pretty much smack in the middle of our reading. The bait is the letter that means home. It's about being in your home, creating your home, being in a space, which is really perfect for the ant because they are so focused on home and the hive and the anthill, the troop of family. Bait can also represent wherever it is you're dwelling. Frequently I think of it as representing our body. And the choice of life or death is the binary transformation in the book of creation, the Sefer Yetzirah. Bait represents that choice, that continuum between life and death. And how can we find ourselves in a place of comfort in our own bodies? It is the first letter of Torah, which is Breshit, meaning in the beginning. And as we are heading toward, we had just come into a new year, and we're coming into a new moon, that seems really appropriate too. Something new beginning, something new in the home. So that's our central issue here. And the way I'm going to read this is I'm going to start on the right side, and we're going to move left. Right being, in Hebrew, the furthest in the past. And then we'll move toward the left, since we read Hebrew right to left, toward the future. So in the past, we have a little higher on the reading, and way in the past, we have the letter Lamed. Lamed, which is the letter that begins the word Lev, meaning heart, mind. So we've had something in the past that has represented our heart, mind, being able to tap into that. That's high in the reading. The Lamed is that connection between heaven and earth. It's like a seed planted in the ground, of the root going down and a sprout coming up in the land across the center here. So that heart mind, that ability to discern what is working and what isn't working, reaching up for the divine with connection with one's heart, and planting oneself firmly in the ground, into the earth. It is the foundation of action. It's about teaching and learning and hope, about having hope. So in the past here, we've had quite a bit of hope. We've had that ability to discern appropriately and reach up for connection with the divine. And as we move a little further in the recent past, we've had below the line and turned on its head, we have the letter Vav. Usually it looks like this. It's completely turned over. Vav is the letter that means connection. It's literally the word and in Hebrew, and it is that connection with oneself, connection with the divine, connection with another. A lot of times I see it as connection with another person. It's what I see as corresponding to the Lover's card in tarot. So some disconnection, something that has not worked out, something that's upside down, that has been a disconnection, really, is what I'm seeing here. Either fear or a literal disconnection, some kind of break in a relationship, in a love relationship, perhaps, in the recent past. And just below that, we have the Tzadi. Tzadi is the letter that begins the word tzedek or tzadik, justice or righteousness. Also lower even on the reading, and upside down completely. This is how it usually looks like. It's totally upside down. So some miscarriage of justice. Tzadi is also the letter that corresponds to this coming month of Shevat. It's the letter that looks a little bit like a tree. It has to do with the birthday of the trees. It is the letter that has a little bit of a connotation of humility with divinity at its back. It's got the letter Nun in it, like this, that kind of bent over Nun, and the Yud on the back. So justice or tzaddik or righteousness is that one who is humble but has divinity at their back. And when that is miscarried, when that is turned over, there's a lack of humility or a lack of connection with divinity that has brought about a miscarriage of justice. And that is right here right after this disconnection. There's been a disconnection and a miscarriage of justice that's happened. To the left of that, we have the letter Tet. And the letter Tet is the letter that means, it's the first letter of the word Tov, meaning good. And it is also turned over. Tov, having something good within it. Tet is seen as a vessel of some kind, of basket, a cup, a womb even. And and that is on its back, very low on the reading here, which says there's something that isn't good, or there was a perception of something good within, and it turned out it wasn't good after all. Boy, there's a lot of horns going on right now. Okay. So, I mean, and that seems appropriate too, that something's really messed up. Something has really gone haywire. There's been a lot of alarms going off here, that maybe there were some warnings about the thing that you thought was good that wasn't. It didn't turn out to be good after all. Tet is also sometimes seen as a snake. You can see it looks a little bit like a snake with its head poking out and its tail curled up. And that snake can be transformation. It can be gestation and something good. But since it's lying on its back, maybe that snake hasn't been good. Maybe that snake has been something that's been harmful instead. That what we thought was a good transition or transformation turned out to be not so good after all. Beneath this miscarriage of justice, there's been a container that held something that wasn't as pure as we'd hoped it was. And slightly above that, right next to the tzadi, we have the ayin. Interestingly, these two letters look very similar. The ayin is also upside down. It's usually looking like this, and it is completely turned over. Ayin is the letter that represents an eye, being watched over or being able to see clearly. And again, since it's next to the tzadi upside down, I'm guessing that whatever we thought was righteous or just, or this miscarriage of justice, was also something we could not see. We could not see this very well. That we had a difficult time judging what was accurate. This is affiliated with the tribe of Dan, which is the tribe that means judgment. And to that end, justice and judgment are both upside down here, at very low in the reading. So there's been some issue. And ayin is the letter that corresponds to the month Tevet that's just ending. So something not great happening in the near past that's brought us to the current time. Both the miscarriage of justice and the inability to see, the difficulty being able to see clearly and judge appropriately. And just beneath that, we have the letter Kuf. Kuf it's a letter that can mean holiness or sacredness, kadosh, when it's upside right. Again, it's turned over on its head as well. So something that we thought was sacred, something that we thought was holy, has turned out to be more of an agitation or irritation. It's also the same letter that begins the word kof, which means monkey. So there may be something that was very base or animalistic that was being presented as sacred, and it turned out that it wasn't. It was just human nature, something that has been not serving very well in the form of holiness. Kuf is the letter that begins the word klipa meaning shards or shells. And there's a story in Kabbalah about how the divine was able to contract themselves in order to make space for creation, and the light of divinity was put into vessels. And those vessels could not hold the holy light, so they shattered. And that light went everywhere, and that light is the sacredness, it's the kadosh, but the shards of the vessels are the klipa. They cause irritation in the world. So both of those things exist simultaneously, and sometimes we mistake one for the other because the shards also reflect light. So they might look shiny and sparkly, but they turn out to be very sharp glass or some kind of brokenness. And that's what I'm seeing here right now with the ayin upside down, the tzadi upside down, the tet really low on the reading, and the kuf upside down. These are all really difficult things. This brokenness of the connection, the miscarriage of justice, the difficulty of seeing judgment appropriately, and the upside down kuf, meaning, there's sharpness and shards of brokenness here. So next in our reading, if we go all the way up, we have the resh. It's up there right on the ant card. And the resh is the letter that means head or beginning. It's lying on its back. So there's something about the Resh being not quite upright, that there's a new beginning coming. Because Resh is the first letter of the word Rosh, meaning head. So maybe there's a new beginning coming, but it's delayed perhaps. It's sitting up here on the card of the ant, which makes me think back about patience again. So that it's saying to me that it's time to have some patience, that there's something that wants to begin, but it's not quite ready, or maybe there's an internal beginning that needs to happen. A lot of times when a letter is turned over, I see that as something meaning internal, especially when it's way up high in the reading. So we've got this positive position with the Resh on its back. Resh meaning a new beginning, like Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Chodesh, the new moon, is requiring our patience. It's requiring our patience because there is this binary transformation of seed and barrenness that's affiliated with the Resh. So maybe something is starting, or something is attempting to start, and it's having a little bit of difficulty starting. We don't know whether it's going to produce a seed or barrenness. Like the sap rising, we can't see the sap rising, so we have to be patient with it. Resh is the letter that is affiliated with the planet Mercury, and Mercury is about communication. So maybe there's some difficulty with communication right now, that there's a challenge with the communication that's happening. I think about Resh as corresponding to the Tower card in Tarot. So something is maybe stirred up. Maybe there's been some stirred up with this difficulty over here with the Vav upside down, with this difficulty in relationship. That there is a challenge with communication, that we're not really being able to communicate effectively. The beginning, the start of a thing is difficult to get going. We need the patience to move it forward. And next in the reading from right to left, we have the letter Chet, which is down low here below the Beit, and it's layered on top of the Dalet. Chet usually looks like this. It's upside down in the reading. It's the first letter of the word Chai, which means life, and the first letter of the word Choshek, which means darkness. So it's upside down. It's low in the reading. It's going to say to me, darkness is up. There's something having to do with darkness, being unable to see. And again, back with the ayin here upside down, that we're having difficulty seeing. Chet is also the letter that begins the word chuppah, which means marriage canopy. So there's maybe some connection, contract, or commitment that's taken place with another person. Over here with the Vav, that is not working out, that there's been an issue with that covenant, that contract that has been made, that there has been darkness that has infiltrated that connection, that contract, that covenant, and it's distressing, it's disturbing the situation here. The home is being distressed and disturbed. And beneath that, we have the letter Dalet upside down. Dalet is the letter which means a doorway, and it's about transformation. It's the letter that corresponds to the death card in tarot in my book. So since it's upside down, that we're having difficulty with the transition. We're having difficulty with completing the thing that needs to be completed. And maybe that's because there's been a problem with this connection, with this commitment, that we can't get through the doorway. It's being blocked by this darkness. We can't see the door. We can't see our way through because of the darkness, because of the issues over here with justice and judgment. And next to that, and slightly higher, we have the Zayin. And Zayin is the letter that speaks to power. It's a sword or a scepter. It's lying on its back. So this sword or scepter, the sense of sovereignty, is down right now. That we're not feeling our personal sovereignty, that we're having a difficulty seeing our way through to grasp that power again. Zayin is the number 7 in Gematria, and to that end it corresponds to Shabbat, the ability to rest, and the Shabbat bride, who is the indwelling presence of the divine, the Shekhinah. So way I'm seeing that right now in this, again, like the Resh, it's on its back, it's resting, but it doesn't have the power that it normally does. We're having a difficult time tapping into that power because of the darkness, because of this difficulty with justice. That as we move forward, we may be having difficulty with our personal sovereignty in this situation. Down the lowest letter on the reading is the letter He. The letter He, and upside down as well, the letter He, which begins the word Hineni, meaning here I am, ready for service to the divine. It's upside down, so there's been some difficulty with being present, with being patient, perhaps, with our ability to show up and say, here I am, fully available. That maybe we haven't been able to see our way forward. It is affiliated with the sense of sight. Again, back to the ayin here, that we have been having difficulty seeing our way forward. It's 2 of the 4 letters of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. And so it's about being present with the divine, about being available for service to the divine, and it's really low and it's upside down. So there's been some really difficulty showing up and being present for ourselves and being present for our calling to the divine. Difficulty being able to see our way forward in this scenario here. And next in the line here, I'm saying the letter Pe. Pe is the letter that is a mouth. It's the mouth of the divine speaking creation into existence. And it's just a little bit lower than the Beit, so it's sort of on the path line, but it's kind of dropped down. It's about communication. It's about creation through words, being able to speak and have things come into existence. So as we move forward, we may be having difficulty speaking. Maybe there's been some dropped communication. The difficulty being able to speak our way into what we'd like to see in the world. It is the binary transformation of grace and ugliness. So being able to speak truth, being able to speak blessing into the world is compromised as we move forward. Pe is the number 80 in Gematria, and to that end it speaks to the infinite, because 8 has that infinity loop, the same as Chet. So there's this infinite connotation with the Pe, but the ultimate manifestation of the infinite. So we're having difficulty with that infinity. We're having difficulty with seeing how things are going to play out as we move forward. We're having difficulty seeing how things are going to move out over time, understandably, with the patience here. So we're going to need patience as we move forward to be able to bless what we'd like to bless and speak what we'd like to see in the world. And Pe is the letter that corresponds to the planet Venus. So it makes me think we're going back to this disconnection with the loved one, that there's some challenge speaking to this person or these people to be able to communicate effectively. And again, just slightly below the line. And next is the letter Nun, which is the letter that means humility. It means being able to be humble in the face of the divine. And it's right underneath the Pe too, so maybe it has to do with humility and communication, not being full of ourselves. It's also the first letter of the word Nes, which means miracle. So the fact that it's under the Pe may mean that our difficulty with communication is making it difficult for us to see the miracle in the situation, or to remain humble, or to remain faithful. This is about loyalty and fidelity. And so the fact that this is under the Pe makes me think that somebody has been using their words or will be using their words to cover up a difficulty with their loyalty and their faithfulness, and holding back the miracle that could be occurring here. Instead, they're covering it up with their words or their difficulty communication. And we have the Ein Sof here. This is the letter that is the blank. It has got just the mark of the wood on it, but it is the blank letter. And it represents the infinite as well, in the same way that the Pe and the Het do. What's coming in the future is the infinite, the unknown, the thing that we can't see. We can't see our way forward yet. By the end of the month, we may be hoping for some sort of sign about what is coming, but we won't necessarily have that. We need to remain patient, like the ant, and maybe trust that a new beginning is trying to start. But since, again, this is below the line, and in the future here, we maybe don't have all of the information that we need, and we can't see our way forward yet. This is the primordial chaos, this unknown and the unseen. By the end of the month, we will have found our way to the Tav. Tav is the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it is the stamp, seal, completion, or signature on a thing. Something is coming to an end. It's also about new beginnings, so it's the moon in the sky, so it may have to do with just the moon going through its cycles and coming around to a new beginning again, because as things come to an end, there's always a new beginning affiliated with it. It is the last letter of the word emet, meaning truth, and kind of a final stamp on truth. It does represent judgment, and because it looks a little bit like a dalet and a nun together, meaning spelling Dean or Dan. Back here we've got Ayin representing Dan again. So there is some judgment. There is some finality to it. It can represent an ending or a death of some sort. And again, those endings very frequently come back to new beginnings again. And since we have the Ein Sof here with the eternal next to it, which reminds me of the fullness of the moon, we're talking about an ending that comes back to a beginning again because of the cycles of the moon. It is the binary transformation of sovereignty and slavery. And since we've lost our sovereignty here, maybe by the end of the month we'll have a glimpse of it again. But again, it's low on the reading, so there's some fear maybe around not knowing, not seeing what's coming. There's a fear around things coming to an end. So as I look at this reading as a whole, what I'm seeing here is the central issue is Beit. The central issue is taking care of our home, taking care of our body, taking care to get enough rest. Beit is the letter that corresponds to Shabbat. So Shabbat is the day of rest. So maybe our central issue is taking care of ourselves, our body, and our home. That we've come from a place of hope, we've come from a place of heart, but there's been a huge crash here. There's been a difficulty with a loved one, with a connection, that there's been a miscarriage of justice and an inability to judge and see our way forward, that what we thought was good was perhaps venomous or poisonous, that even the sparkles, the shiny parts that we saw in our life might have turned out to be shards of glass, which is really hard. This is all very difficult, that there's darkness here with Choshech, and that maybe it feels like infinite darkness because it's the number 8, that we have the Dalet here, which is a death and a difficulty getting through the doorway because we can't see our way forward with the darkness. We can't see our way forward with the Ayin being upturned. We've lost our feeling of sovereignty and personal power. And there's been some challenges there will be some challenges around communication and humility with communication. That there has been or will be some challenges around showing up and being present for ourselves, being present for the divine, having action and agency in the world. And we come into a place of the unknown and a fear around completions, a fear around what the ending will be. But up here we have the Resh, which is a new beginning. We have a new beginning that is just taking a long time to get started. It's on its back, it hasn't stood up yet. And the ant is imploring us to be patient with all of this. Maybe it's just going to be a challenging month, that we need to wait it out and know that at the end of things, the endings bring new beginnings. And I know that this can come across as very difficult reading, and I think it's really important to be honest about what the letters are saying. So patience is what's up. And remembering also, for me, it's sometimes useful to remember that the universe has patience with us. that the divine has patience with us, that patience is an attribute of divinity, and that the divine is infinitely patient with us as we go through our struggles and our turmoils, and that all we can do sometimes is take care of our home, take care of our body, take care to rest, and trust that the beginning will come in the right timing if we can have the patience to get through this. So thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you find your way through with great patience and love. Hopefully we will have some readings soon that will give us a little bit more direction as we move through the month of Shevat. May your sap rise as we come into the spring. Chodesh Tov.